Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Doesn't matter what time of night or day. I'm still just as glad you stopped by the channel. So, thanks very, very much. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. Glad to have you. And thank you for your continued patronage. If you're a first-time visitor, welcome aboard. You've just joined a small but rapidly growing community that is an online church or place of worship. Sounds better. Anyway, this is the Social Gospel Worship and Learning Center, based here in Atlanta, Georgia, sending blog posts and videos around the world, talking about the good news of Jesus Christ and his salvation and his shed blood, which he shed for each and every one of us. No, sweetie, not now. Sorry. That was just Chloe. Anyway, this was, or is, our Sunday message from yesterday, which I'm just now getting around to recording. I'm getting kind of busy around here. The epidemic, people, the epidemic of sexual assault. And there's a topic worthy of any Sunday sermon. I call them my messages. As with the other, I think it sounds better. The epidemic of sexual assault and the symptoms of a sick society is the topic for now, for today. So lend me an ear, and I will talk some spiritual truth to you, as well as calling out some areas of sin that exist in our society and that is, for now at least, largely tolerated. This past week, I have found myself being bombarded by the media with still more stories of women being sexually assaulted. Many of these men who've done this have been prominent individuals. It's looking to me like women everywhere have gotten to the point where they are simply done and over with, being victimized by men again and again, everywhere. R. Kelly, remember him? R. Kelly was convicted earlier this year of racketeering, sex trafficking, and child sex crimes, and was sentenced to more than 30 years in prison. His case was a milestone for the Me Too movement, sometimes known as #MeToo, as it was the first major sex abuse trial where most of the accusers were black women. Just recently, we now have the case of Sean Diddy Combs, who is facing similar racketeering and sex trafficking charges. Prosecutors allege that Combs controlled women by tracking their location, dictating their appearance, monitoring their medical information, and supplying them with drugs. Now, let's be honest and truthful about sexual assault here just for a moment. This is nothing new, nor is it anything recent at all. Men forcing themselves on women, and sometimes vice versa, or intimidating them into compliance to their demands for sex, has been going on for as far back as we can remember, and likely much further back than that. Here's a magical little phrase for you. Sexual immorality is toxic. It's toxic. What does the Bible have to say about sexually immoral people? Not only does the Bible have much to say about this topic, I will also give some modern day examples to this to tie this all together. The first quote that seems most relevant to me comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 18. And I quote, "Flee from sexual immorality. All other sins a person commits are outside the body, but whoever sins sexually sins against their own body," close quote. Not to mention that it can also get you into legal trouble, and legal problems have this annoying habit of being very, very expensive. If you don't believe me, go and try hiring a lawyer. See what they tell you. Just ask Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein, and former New York Congressman Anthony Weiner, to name just 3 men out of many more, besides Diddy Combs. This goes back as far as our memories. Let me cite more examples of the consequences of sexual sin, not just sin itself, but the consequences. Further along in that same book of the Bible, it says in chapter 10 and verse 8, "We should not commit sexual immorality as some of them did, and in one day 23,000 of them died," close quote. Now this is a reference to a time when a portion of the recently freed Israelites, who had been slaves in Egypt for 400 years, were slain for having a grossly immoral pagan sexual ritual festival while still wandering in the desert. Somebody said, "I know, let's throw a party." God struck down 23,000 of them in a single day. See Exodus chapter 32, back in the Old Testament, for the full context of that story. That's Exodus 32. It's about a 5-minute read. You can do it. Go ahead. So now you know how seriously God views sexual immorality. Hopefully this will make my valued readers and viewers think twice before doing that, whatever that was, again. But hold that thought, because I have still more reasons, and I'll be brief, that I will reveal after I give you all another Bible quote or two to make my point. Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the first century church at Ephesus, where the name Ephesians came from. And I quote beginning at verse 3. "But among you there must not be even a hint of sexual immorality, or of any other kind of impurity, or of greed, because these are improper for God's holy people." You hear that, Wall Street? Greed is improper, because Jesus said so. That's where Paul got his quotation from. Moving right along. Nor should there be obscenity, foolish talk, or coarse joking which are out of place, but rather thanksgiving. For of this you can be sure, no immoral, impure, or greedy person, such a person is an idolater, has any inheritance in the kingdom of God, and the kingdom of Christ and of God. Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of such things God's wrath comes on those who were disobedient. Therefore, do not be partners with them. Now that was Ephesians chapter 5, verses 3 through 7 is where that came from. Right out of the New Testament. Based on these words, people, based on these very words, I would say the majority of men and women who are currently holding the reins of power would have to resign. Christianity. Hello out there. All you churches. We have a problem. Let me spill it out for you. According to an older survey done around the early 2000s or so by Focus on the Family, and you can search that right there to find out who they are, Focus on the Family, 45% of Christian men and about 30% of Christian women were addicted to pornography. Here in 2024, those numbers have risen to over 65% of men and 50% of women. So what is the percentage of non-Christian, atheist, or agnostic men and women who are addicted to porn? Well, lo and behold, it's very much the same with almost no difference at all in the percentage rate between the two groups. Based on this information, I would say Christianity as a whole has some serious soul searching to do, not to mention some self-examination. Stay off the dating sites. There's something you can do to prove yourself closer to Jesus. Allow me to present some more recent statistics, this time from none other than the Centers for Disease Control, which is only 10 miles or so from where I live. When it comes to the personal ads and online dating sites that are pervasive on the web and in social media, 4 out of every 10 people with personal ads on dating sites or social media has a sexually transmitted disease. That's frighteningly close to half, which is why I stay off the dating sites. I'm in my 60s and single myself, having tried marriage twice before with awful results that I do not care to repeat. But here's where these statistics get a little bit crazy. Out of the group of 40% on the dating sites and hookup apps who have sexually transmitted diseases, fully 80%, 8 out of 10, don't bother to tell their new partners. To make matters worse, they are having unprotected sex like playing Russian roulette with your body. So, sexual promiscuity and bad behavior are not limited to those at the pinnacles of power and influence. Moreover, sexual assaults on these dating websites, sexual assaults are common. Careful what you ask for. very careful these days. All you really need for companionship is Jesus. Stop and think about this for a minute. All you really need for companionship is Jesus. The United States of America is infested with rampant sexual immorality, and God is not impressed in the slightest by America's wild behavior. It's up to us to turn this big problem around and to deal with it appropriately with even-handed justice to those who have committed acts such as are subject to criminal prosecution. The harshest prosecution should be reserved for those who kill or do bodily harm, who engage in forcible sex, and for those who engage in sex with underage girls and boys. After all, if God can kill 23,000 Israelites all in one day, or if he can destroy Sodom and Gomorrah in a matter of minutes together with all their inhabitants for their rampant immorality, how much more quickly can the God destroy an individual whose sins continuously today? Nothing's changed. He can do it at the speed of a bolt of lightning, and Jesus said as much himself during his ministry here on earth. Protect yourselves from a lot of anguish and aggravation. Stay single until you're ready to marry. Why worry about whether you'll be lonesome or not when you have Jesus already there with you? And when Jesus is all you have, he is all that you will ever need. Jesus is more than enough. That's how I'll close on this one for today. If you enjoyed watching this, or if you're viewing this from over on the blog, why not subscribe? There's a free version, which is the blog twice a week, and the YouTube channel, followed by the paid version, which is the blog 4 times a week, plus access to my archives, which go back to 2018, plus, hold on, I'm not done yet, plus access to hundreds of other writers by way of thousands of different articles of all kinds of genres and so on and so forth. No porn, you will not find any porn there. Then that's worth signing up for. All this free access to all this stuff that you'd otherwise have to go online and buy a subscription to view it. That's the benefits. That's the advantage. There will also be, coming up soon, something we're going to call a weekly matinee. I haven't decided what day of the week I'm going to put it on yet. But there's going to be a minimum of 2 or more videos made available that haven't been watched recently. Kind of bring some of these old ones back to life. And you have access to our online store, which is which is greatestservant.gumroad.com. One more time, that's greatestservant, all lowercase, .gumroad.com. No spaces. And purchase something from us, like a book, one of our books, or one of our T-shirts, or a computer. And there's more of that coming a little later. Probably over the holidays here at the end of this year. But I'm not concerned about that right now. Don't forget to give us a like and a share and a subscribe. Those thumbs ups, I need those. I really do need those. Give me a share or two, and to subscribe. The subscription to the YouTube channel, one more time, is free. And I want to thank everybody for the privilege of their time. You are also very much appreciated. Oh, and in the comment section at the bottom down there, that's where all your instructions are for sending us donations or for making purchases or stuff like that. So check that out. You'll also find the mailing address if you want to mail in a contribution, as well as who to make the check out to. So be sure and not overlook that. And I guess that's all for now. I haven't thought of everything that I could think of to say for this time around. Everybody be blessed. Yes, I said be blessed. In Jesus' mighty name.